Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and every week I take an in-depth look at what's happening here in the Villages real estate market. If you want to know what's going on, if you want to get a perspective on long-term trends, if you want to get a good look at the differences between the different regions of the Villages, then this is the show for you. We produce this show every Monday, so the first thing I would advise you is to check the date to ensure that you're getting the most recent information. The other things I would caution you are that all of this information is drawn from the multiple listing service, which does not include any listings from the village's own internal listing service, the VLS. In this market, the Villages, Florida, there are two real estate marketplaces, the VLS run by the Villages and the MLS, which is run by the Realtors, as in almost every other region of the country. So if you're a buyer, you really need to see properties on VLS and MLS. An MLS broker cannot show you VLS properties, and a VLS broker cannot show you MLS properties. So you really do need a VLS and MLS broker down here as a buyer. And if you're a seller, you're going to need to decide whether to list your home on VLS or on MLS because, as I said, they are totally separate markets. If you are looking to buy in the Villages and you're trying to find a good deal backed by research and data, or you're a seller and you're trying to maximize your return in a reasonable period of time, please reach out to me. Also, I'd like to mention that we have a website, DavidisinFlorida.com. Please check it out. We add new content all the time. We're going to be adding a loofah article soon. Now that I've mentioned it, I guess I need to complete it. But with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's happening in the real estate market and specifically the Villages this week. We start every show by taking a look at what's happening with interest rates because real estate is financed generally. The interest rate is going to have an effect on real estate prices, even though we haven't been seeing that over the last year or so. But what you're looking at in this chart is the yield on the government 10-year note. And the government 10-year note yield is the yield that the mortgage rate most closely tracks. So by watching this rate, we can get advance warning on what mortgage rates are going to do. You can see here that after falling for the last 6 months, it looks as if interest rates might be headed back up, and we'll have to wait and see what that means for the real estate market. Yeah, we start looking at the Villages specifically, and what you're looking at here is a map that shows you a dot with the location of every single active listing in the Villages currently on the MLS. On this map, the size of the dot denotes the size of the home, and the color of the dot is shown by the price. The more expensive per square foot, the lighter the color, and the darker the color, the less per square foot. Keep in mind, this is not the price of the house, this is the price per square foot. So as I said, this map is showing us every listing in the Villages. We can break it down into the 4 regions of the Villages, which I describe as North, Middle South, and South. And as we go through these maps and the graphs to follow, you can get some idea as to the differences between the regions. You can see where there's activity, you can see what the price per square foot is in the different regions of the Villages, and you can get some idea as to how many listings there are and how much activity there is. I think VLS has far more listings in the South than the MLS does, but you really should have access to both markets if you want to see everything available for sale. Now we'll start taking a look at some long-term trends. This is the number of listings in the Villages. This week there are 369 listings, down from 379 listings last week, and only slightly elevated from the 326 listings for the same week a year ago. Properties in the Villages currently range in price from just under $160,000 to just under $2 million. Another long-term chart. Here we're looking at the listing price per square foot for all homes for sale in the Villages. This week it's down from $262.01 to $260.03 and down from the $265.62 of the same week a year ago. But perhaps most worrying as you look at this chart is that the median listing price per square foot does seem to be heading lower again. Here's the last long-term chart on listings before we look at the differences between the regions of the Villages. Here we're looking at the median time on the market for all listings, which this week is 42 days, down from the 51 days that was in effect the previous week and the 51 days that was in effect for the same week a year ago. Now we start taking a look at the differences between the regions of the Villages. As I mentioned, I've broken them down into North, Middle South, and South. And under all regions, you can see the entirety of the villages. What you're looking at here is how many listings there are: 368 in the villages, in the north 181, in the south 31. What the median size of the properties are: in the villages as a whole, 1,527 square feet, in the south 1,516 square feet, and what the median price is for each of the regions in the villages. The graphs are showing you the number of listings and how many there are in each price segment. So this gives you a good idea as to the difference in listings and listing prices and number of listings between the different regions of the villages. Another way of looking at the same data, broken down by region, all regions on the right, you're looking at the number of listings by price segment. So for example, you can see on the right that in the entirety of the villages, there are 146 properties for sale between 3 and 400,000. In the north, there are 92. In the south, there are only 9. And one more look at listings. This might give us another perspective on price ranges and regions of the villages. If you look at the very top, you'll see the $300,000 to $400,000 range. The color of the bar denotes the regional villages, and you can see how many properties there are for sale in each price segment for each of the regions of the villages quite easily with this type of chart. This is the chart that we've been watching most closely recently because this shows us new listings and homes going pending over the prior 7-day period, and we think it gives a pretty good idea as to how enthusiastic buyers and sellers are. The red line shows us new listings, and the black line shows us homes going pending. And looking at this graph, it's quite evident that over the last 2 weeks, we've seen a dramatic fall in the number of new listings. In fact, last week they fell from 49 new listings to only 25 new listings. Last year, there were also 25 new listings. The number of homes going pending this year is 51 over the last week compared to 53 for the previous week, and that is more than double the 25 that went pending for the same week a year ago. Which gives rise to this dramatic chart, which is showing us the difference between new listings and homes going pending. And as you can see, last week it skyrocketed. There were very few new listings and a lot of homes went pending. And this is the greatest difference, positive difference that we've seen so far between homes going pending and homes being listed for sale. So let's take a closer look at the homes going pending, most recent activity. Here we're looking at the homes going pending over the last week and what the median price per square foot was. Last week it was 262.89, which is up quite dramatically from the 257.39 that was in effect the previous week, and nicely up from the 245.46 that was in effect the same week a year ago. It's interesting to note that the pending price per square foot last year dropped from $260 a square foot to $245 a square foot over the same week. This year, the pending price actually went up from 257 to 262. So that is positive news. There is negative news coming up, but we'll save that. More signs of enthusiastic buyers. This is the median time on the market for the homes that went pending last week. They were on the market for 18 days compared to 22 days for the previous week, and less than half the time that was in effect for the same week a year ago. But here is some bad news. This is the number of sales closing last week. They numbered 19, down from 39 the previous week, and barely improved from the 16 that was in effect the same week a year ago. Homes that closed last week ranged in price from 215,000 to 815,000. As you look at the number of sales, it's worth noting that even though they dropped week to week from 39 to 19, last year the number of sales week over week dropped from 28 to 16. This is a long-term chart. We're going to look at detail for the individual areas of the villages soon, but showing us long-term, this is the price per square foot on the homes that closed last week. Dramatic increase from $233 a square foot to $262 compared to $241 a square foot for the same week a year ago. This is a long-term chart of sold time. This is how long properties were on the market that closed last week. Last week, the properties that closed had been on the market for 30 days, median time, compared to 66 days for the previous week, and compared to only 13 days for the properties that closed the same week a year ago. Here we're combining homes that either sold or went pending over the last 60 days. Keep in mind, previously we were looking at the previous week, and on this we're looking at the last 2 months. You can see that there were 380 homes that either sold or went pending over the last 60 days in the villages. Median size was 1,570 square feet, and the median price was $386,000. In the north, there were 176 that either sold or went pending. In the south, only 30. In the north, the median size was 1,527 square feet. In the middle south, the median size was almost 2,000 square feet. And for everyone who's made it this far, this is a distressing bit of news because even though it appears that sales picked up, buying picked up, enthusiasm in the market picked up, if you look at this graph, which shows us what percentage of listings have reduced their asking price from the original listing price, it has jumped from 53.5% to over 56.5% of listings with a price decrease compared to barely half for the same week a year ago. And this graph seems to confirm that there might be a problem brewing. This shows us the percentage of that decrease, which has increased to a 4.09% price reduction from a 3.85% price reduction. This is almost identical to the 4.11% price reduction that was the median reduction in effect the same week a year ago. Please visit us at our website, DavidisinFlorida.com. If you are looking to buy in the villages and you're trying to find a good deal backed by research and data, or you're a seller and you're trying to maximize your return in a reasonable period of time, please reach out to me at either DavidisinFlorida.com or DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. You can reach us either way. If you have any questions about buying or selling in the villages or life in the villages itself, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you and answer any questions you have. I hope to hear from you. Take care.